You have questions, we have answers. This is Jane Miller.
And this is Ken Miller. Welcome to our show, all about real estate with Ken and Jane. Today's topic is going to be homeowners insurance, and we have as our guest today, Joe Scaturro of Farmers Insurance. Joe, big welcome to our show.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, well, our show is about real estate, and nothing can be more important than protecting your asset, your home, your commercial property. Sure. It's one of your most expensive purchases. So we're going to break down the homeowners insurance. So please give us a little bit about your background and when you got into the industry.
I've been in this business and around this business my whole life. My dad, my aunts, my uncles, they were all in the business when I was young. After I got out of the service, I was looking for a job while I went to school. And of course, I wound up in an insurance agency. And like most people, I didn't intend for it to be a career, but you start working in the business, you find out it's a lot more interesting than you ever thought it would be, that there's a lot of opportunity. At that time, you didn't need a college degree to be successful. You just had to be smart and work hard and be hungry and be willing to do stuff. And so I wound up in the business on the company side for almost 30 years. And then we opened our own spot. We're in our 9th year, going on our 10th year now.
Wow. Congratulations.
Wow. Yeah, big congratulations.
My whole life.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Before we get too far in, why don't you please give your contact information for your phone number with Farmers?
Yeah,
please.
the office number is 732-410-4160. That's the best way to reach us, or you can find us, Scaturro Insurance Agency, Farmers Insurance on Google. You'll see all the lovely reviews. People seem to like the service that we provide. I get calls every day from people that say, I saw you on Google and I thought I'd give you a call. It's very gratifying for us.
Forget about Google. You guys are wonderful. I know from Chamber.
I can vouch from
Yeah.
personal experience for a house that we just needed your insurance. We needed a short-term policy. I called Joe up, and within an hour or less, the policy was in effect. Got everything done. 1, 2, 3. You're reachable always.
Very knowledgeable,
very,
30 years experience. I mean, I heard nothing but great things from everyone I know, from Chamber, from the people I associated with. It's really a great, and you guys so much give back to the community, not only because you're really expert in the business, you always give back, care about the community, care about others. So especially, and I said, I know your wife much better, Carla. Everybody love her. She always there, always helpful. Just please, if you guys need insurance, please reach out to them.
Thank you. That's very kind.
So we're going to talk about homeowners insurance, but what other types of insurance do you guys cover?
We do just about everything but health insurance.
But health, okay.
We do every aspect of personal insurance, home, auto, motorcycles, umbrella, rental properties. We do commercial insurance, general liability, workers' compensation, automobile, professional liability, anything that a business owner would need. And we also do life insurance.
Okay.
Oh, good.
Okay,
That's
very
really
good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if somebody's buying homeowners insurance, what should the basic policy cover? Let's talk about some of the elements of the policy.
Most homeowners policies, a standard homeowners policy is kind of prepackaged. So your coverage A is the coverage on your house itself. And then your coverage B covers the other structures that may be on your property, like a shed or a pool house or a gazebo or a fence. Coverage C covers your personal property in the house. So if you could imagine picking up the house and pouring everything out onto the ground, everything that fell out would be in your personal property. And all of those limits are separate from each other, so they add up. Your coverage D is your liability. So if someone sues you, your homeowner's policy responds. That's a coverage under the policy. Coverage E is medical payments. That's when your friend comes over and they hurt themselves, but they don't want to sue you because they love you, but they need their bill paid for the emergency room. They can make the claim under that coverage. And then there are a number of other add-on and tack-on endorsements that you can put on to customize the policy for the customer. But those 5 things are always there.
Interesting. Yeah.
That's very
So,
important because
Or
we
6 things, I should say.
we had in the past have a lot of experience, right? Years back, now we just make compulsory, but years back, and I remember like almost 15 years ago, right? We had a rental property, and the tenant. We always require tenant insurance, not only landlord insurance. We make sure tenant have tenant insurance.
Renter's insurance.
Renter
Yeah,
insurance. But 15 years ago, that time, it's not everybody in the same page yet. So the tenant said they really don't think they need it. They really don't think they can afford it, or they need it. But either way, they don't want it. But lucky enough, that time, because at that time my husband's still attorney, so I was smart enough to say, well, I can't make you do it, but what I can do is you have to sign a waiver. You hold the landlord and agent, everybody harmless, right? So there was brand new construction condo. So there's nothing can possibly go wrong. Okay. Anyway, 2:00 in the morning, and upstairs a hot water tank gave it in. The property only about 1 or 2 years old, right? Whole water went downstairs. And then obviously, actually it was a 3rd floor. So the 2nd floor and the 1st floor, they all came out, and police was there, fire guys were there, everybody was there. The 2nd floor came out, immediately said, I'm going to sue the landlord, I'm going to sue my agent because I have a very expensive camera. 15 years ago, lucky there's no cell phone, iPhone, there was a camera on there. My computer's on there. Now they're so damaged. And the ground floor lady came out and said, I wish I could because they made me sign the waiver. But after that incident, we make sure, we told landlord, if they walk, they walk. If the tenant refuses to pay for the tenant insurance, we can't take them.
And certain associations now require that the tenants also have renter's insurance as part of the policy. The association would say, if you're going to rent it, we're going to mandate a copy of the lease, and we're going to mandate that your tenant, you provide proof as a landlord that your tenant has renter's insurance. And just to clarify, because it's for the general listeners, we started talking about homeowners insurance. Renter's insurance, as I understand it, Joe, just covers the personal contents of the tenant. So if they have a TV, computer, cameras, electronic equipment, clothing, Bruno Valley suits,
if you remember the
shoes,
six things I talked about in the homeowners policy, the renter's policy provides 4 of those 6 things. The only thing it takes out is coverage for the building itself and coverage for those other buildings on the property. So the renter's property gives them coverage for their personal belongings, for the liability, for the medical payments, and also for their cost to live somewhere else.
For
if
relocation.
They're not able to live in the home due to a covered loss, like you were just talking about. They're able to pay to get some compensation to rent another place.
Okay.
Right. So let's talk now about the coverage limits. I guess if you have a mortgage, there's not much choice. You have to insure the house, the value of the house for whatever the lender has, or whatever minimum amount, right? But you can always insure it for a greater amount because there's a whole thing in the insurance industry with the market value and then the cost to rebuild. And you get these surveys every year. And then it becomes a choice of, well, do you want to insure it for the market value? But whereas the cost to rebuild it could be considerably higher.
Or lower.
Or lower.
Right,
or lower, yeah.
That's one of the common misconceptions, that you would insure your home to its market value. And the lenders kind of feed into that because they want to make sure their loan amount is covered. So they ask for insurance to cover the amount of the loan.
Yes.
But the market value includes the cost of land that the home is built on, which doesn't get damaged typically in a loss. And it also includes some factor for location,
That's right?
Yeah. Same house in a very nice neighborhood. Doesn't cost much more to build there, but it's worth a lot more because where the house is. So with insurance, what we concern ourselves with is, what is the reconstruction cost value? What does it cost to rebuild that house with the same materials, the same features, the same fixtures, basically the same exact house but brand new? What does it cost to do that with the labor and material rates in the zip code for that home today? Sometimes that's going to be more than the loan value. Sometimes it's going to be less. And when it's less, particularly in the last few years when home prices have gotten very elevated, lenders have started to accept from the agents our replacement cost calculation. Show us what your calculation is, and even if it's less than the loan value, we'll take it because we know our asset will get repaired that way.
Interesting.
That's very interesting. And I had an opposite experience. 2011, 2012, I had a owner call me to sell their home. Okay, and I think I told them your house worth about $950 kind of range, and they said no, my house worth much more. I said I don't think you should go above $1 million. Because first of all, it's luxury tax. It would deter the buyer, and the market is really not for that market. It was low, so let's stay, below mil or 950 would be the better bracket. And he was so angry. He put out his insurance policy. He said, "You read here? You read? It's 1.2. Did you read this? And that's including land. And that's doesn't including land because, as you said, the land, my including land, my house was 1.5. I look at him. I said, "I'm very sorry. You're so upset, but I totally get it." But, unfortunately, that's replace cost. So God forbid if the house burned down, they have to clear the land. It's not like you're ready to build. You have to get rid of that. May cost you $50,000 or more. And then plus the material, the feature, like you said, right? Everything to restore, that's 1.25, okay? But if you want to sell that house today, which is market value is much lower. That's why people don't build, they buy. But in today's, just like you said, just opposite. It's like the market value is higher.
It's so much higher.
So much higher, absolutely.
And the reconstruction,
for the most part.
So what would happen in the unfortunate circumstance if a house that was insured for a market value of $1.5 million, let's say, burned down accidentally, not due to an arson or anything, and the cost to rebuild, let's say, was $1 million, or is the homeowner entitled to demand the insurance company to build a larger home or whatever at a $1.5 million house?
If they insured 1.5.
If they're insured for 1.5, but it only costs
the top limit.
Yeah.
So insurance is designed to make the homeowner whole, to put them back in the place where they were before the loss. So if that house cost $1 million to rebuild before the loss, they're going to rebuild that house, and they're not going to spend more than that to rebuild.
That's the key question I have.
Right?
So but they would argue they're insured for 1.5 million, but that doesn't matter up to 1.5.
Okay.
That's the $1 million
question.
So they can't get the benefit of an overinsurance if there's extra money left. If it only costs the insurance company $1 million to rebuild it and you're insured for 1.5 million, that $500,000 doesn't go to the homeowner is entitled to. They're just entitled to be made whole, but not to gain.
Entitled to be made whole.
Yeah.
Now, you can always make the argument that they're getting more than made whole because everything is brand new.
Yeah, that's right.
Including the furnace.
The goal is the exact same house.
Right, the furnace, the roof, all the equipment.
Right.
Yeah.
There's ways we deal with that, because mistakes can be made in the calculation.
Yes.
Inflation, like we had right after COVID, when the cost of building materials went crazy, 40% higher.
Yeah.
So what we use is called an extended replacement cost endorsement. So we or my best practice is you calculate what you believe the house is really going to cost to rebuild. You do the best job you can in putting all the features and the fixtures and all of that stuff. And that's your base number. And then you put the extended replacement cost on top of that. It could be 25%, it could be 50%, it could be 100%. And that protects you from that surge pricing and also from any mistakes you might have made. But you want that, in my opinion, you want that calculation to be as accurate as possible. That's the bedrock on which everything else is built.
Okay. All right. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back after these messages. Okay, welcome back. We're joined today by Joe Scaturro of Homeowners Insurance. And Joe, once again, please share your phone number with our listener audience.
Yeah, it's 732-410-4160. That's our office number. It's the best way to reach us anytime.
Okay.
And also their office very easily located in Central Jersey, Route 130, North Brunswick. So I know our audience is a Central Jersey listener. So if you need to make an appointment, meet in person, and their office is very conveniently located Route 130 in North Brunswick. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much Central Jersey.
Yep.
Right? Can't get more
That's
central
right.
than that.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah. So we were talking about the homeowner's insurance, and if there's an unfortunate incident where there's a fire or some need for the homeowner to vacate if the house has to be rebuilt or partially rebuilt, how do policies work? Let's say it was a total destruction due to a fire. How does the insurance company work in terms of the owner finding alternative housing? Do they cover the rental fees, or is that a complicated issue?
No, well, we can cover the basics.
Basics,
of it. Within the homeowner's policy, that coverage D is the loss of use that we talked about, and that's typically set at 20% of the value of the dwelling.
Okay.
So the amount of coverage you have depends on the value of your home itself, and then many companies nowadays allow you to adjust that up or down. And the typical default is for a 12-month period. So you've got a bucket of money that you're able to spend. Let's say you have $120,000 in there for a 12-month period. That means you can go rent a house of a similar kind and quality for about $10,000 a month. And that will be covered under the homeowner's policy because your mortgage company is still going to expect to be getting paid
Yes.
while you're living somewhere else. That's the whole point of it. You're not paying double for your housing.
Forgot about that. That's right. You're paying for something that you're not. Yeah.
Some companies offer 24 months instead of 12 months, which I prefer. And some offer what's called actual loss sustained, which means they don't have a limit set in the policy. It's whatever the market says it's going to be. And those two things are really valuable when you think about what happened in LA
Yes.
earlier.
Yes.
Now, there's all these folks trying to find somewhere to live at the same time. So what happens to rental prices? They skyrocket
because of the supply and demand. And what happens to the construction? There's a shortage of builders. So
There's
they
a
might have to
shortage
wait.
of contractors, and you're also waiting on governmental entities to decide what the standards are going to be to rebuild your home and clear the land and get basic services back to that neighborhood before you can even start to rebuild. So 12 months becomes not a lot of time.
And then the permitting process, which I think the mayor promised to expedite, but still that you don't know if that could be. That always takes a while too. So even when you get to that cleared stage and the utilities restored, then just getting the permits, they still have to go through the checks and balances.
Right.
So you're right. So it's a very good point. A year could be very minimal in a situation like that.
When it's a broader loss event, If it's just one house, 12 months, probably you should make it unless there was some dispute about the loss. But when you have a broader event, here, it wouldn't be a wildfire. It might be a hurricane or a winter storm that damaged lots of houses in an area. But 12 months might not be enough time. I mean, there's some areas down the shore from Sandy and Maniloking area that still haven't been fully rebuilt at this point. It's 10 years later.
Wow.
I have a quick question. I had that there was someone call me. Actually, they're looking for a rental property, right? Once again, another shout out to North Brunswick building department. At that time, we're really short because they need a house immediately. You know, if I represent the landlord, for the landlord, you have to get the CCO and the fire done by the township before the new tenant can move in. We explained the situation to North Brunswick Township immediately. They did the second day. So I couldn't believe it. We called. They said the inspector is not here. We'll leave a message. Second day, call me. Can I come now? What? Oh, Officer Frank. Oh, okay. We are there.
That's
so.
terrific.
But once again, the person told me because their house was burned down in the condominium. The few houses burned down. So in the condo. So he said he got a recommendation to hire somebody to negotiate on his part with the insurance company. So what do you take on that? Should they just go directly with the adjuster insurance company gave them, or they should hire somebody to speak on their behalf?
I really think it depends on the quality of the company that you have. And that's where companies differentiate themselves on their claim service. Public adjusters serve a really important role in working with insurance companies when the homeowner has exhausted all their options and they just can't get satisfaction. Oftentimes, a public adjuster, because of their expertise, can go in, talk the claims examiner's language, get a loss covered where nobody was listening to before. Even good claim adjusters have bad days from time to time or bad files, right? So they can help correct those problems. But those public adjusters will tell you often that they tend to deal with the same insurance companies over and over again. And other insurance companies, they don't deal with all that often because those companies take care of their customers a little bit better.
I see. Okay.
I'm not going to name any names. But
that's almost like people said, the divorce rate. That when the people will say, "Well, did you just meet a guy and get married, or did you went through the process?" And it really depends what research you did prior before you buy the insurance. Decide which insurance company. A lot of people, they just go online, 5 seconds, boom, 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 bought insurance. And I'm not saying, online wrong. I mean, sometimes I buy my thing from Amazon, so it's good.
Yes.
But I think if you're not experienced homeowner or tenant or any circumstances, talk to the professional like Joe and Carla. So they will give you, perspective, more to think about before you make the decision, right? A lot of time, right? I mean, online is good for the regular. You already know what you're doing. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. But if you're not so familiar with this, please seek, advice from the professional who has the expertise.
Also, you can't judge the price you get online because you may not be comparing apples to apples.
Yes, that's right.
We just brought up the coverage amount, the extent of the replacement or displacement coverage. It could be all different. So they could get online a much cheaper quote, but it gives them the bare minimum where they talk to a professional like you, at least they can make an informed decision and know what they need and what they're getting based on what the premium they're paying. So it's light years of difference.
And also, once you claim, right, if you buy it online, once again, we're not here to say online no good, so I don't want people to sue us for that. But my personal experience is when you get something online, when you try to call 1-800, it's not as good as Joe and Carla's office on Route 130. You call them, you make appointment, you come sit down with them. That's totally different. Just like an agent, right? And somebody just can buy and sell online, but you will not have the same service.
Plus, Joe lives in the county, so he's not going anywhere. He's too big a guy to hide, so you can always go out, you can always find him somewhere or track him down to the chamber or one of these events.
Well, that's right.
I always said I never wanted to have to run away from a customer in the supermarket.
That's right.
I don't want to say,
like us.
Oh no, here he comes. I have to go the other way. So.
Joe.
But just look at the Google reviews. That tells you that they're very highly satisfied with your guys' services.
Any agent is going to advocate for their customers.
Yes, absolutely.
And we're going to bring up things that the call center might not bring up because they want to close the sale. And we're also going to push back a little bit on, I want it to be cheaper. We're going to spend the time to say, okay, this is what you're giving up to get it cheaper.
Well, which corner you want to
magically, eggs cost what eggs cost in the supermarket.
That's right. That's right.
If you want them cheaper,
you're going to have to get your own chickens.
You're going to get 10 instead of 12, or some are going to be cracked, or I
tell you, Joe,
right?
Somebody's really smart, right? After COVID, the food price went up, right? Once, I'm not always going to the shopping, right? But one day I went to shopping, I thought, the price is still similar. It's good. I bought it. I took it home. I realized they made a hole on the bottom of the container, just like a little bit up, like a half inch inside. So the box is still the same, but actually the quantity is much lighter.
They call that shrinkflation.
That's right. So you see, and you can say, no, that's not true. The price is still the same. I look at it again, like you said.
They gave you the perception that they're the same, but they reduced the quantity.
Just like give you 10 instead of 12.
There are parallels to that in the homeowners market right now. There are companies out there that are reducing the amount of water coverage under a policy. So if you're not knowledgeable about what you're buying, you don't know that water's only going to be covered for $25,000. And that's
when you say water coverage,
water damage.
But you mean water from a burst pipe?
A burst
pipe, not flood. Not from. We're not going to
not flood. We're talking about water damage to the home, like you experienced with the hot water heater or a burst pipe. Most standard homeowners policies, you're covered to that dwelling limit in the policy that we talked about. A lot of policies now, unless you're careful, unless you're watching, there'll be a sublimit of $25,000
Wow.
or $10,000, or they'll the deductibles now are creeping up. Some
Yes.
companies have minimum deductibles of $2,500. You can't buy a lower deductible.
Even if
Some are introducing higher wind and hail and hurricane deductibles, which could be as much as 5% of the home's value.
Wow.
for the deductible. So if your
For the
home is worth
deductible.
$500,000, which might be an average home, so 5% of that is it's pretty.
It's quite a
Yeah.
lot of
Quite
money.
But a lot of
yeah.
money. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So and insurance companies are getting more proactive in looking at the homes. Let's talk about the
Yes.
roofs, for example. That's a hot topic
Yeah.
now, as we
Yes.
discussed privately about a certain homeowner that had an issue with the buyer getting coverage for the roof because they couldn't document the age of the roof was under 15 or 20 years.
Yeah, there's two things at play right now. Companies are struggling to be profitable in the homeowners line of business, primarily because of the inflation in building materials and labor, and trying to make up that gap in pricing to the losses, and also because of the weather we've been having. We've had
Sure.
6 years in a row of historic losses, one year worse than the last. So there have always been rules on the books that companies have about how old is your roof, the condition of the home, the condition of the trees, the sidewalks, the driveways. Those have always been there. But when times were good and everybody was fighting to grow, those things kind of go by the wayside. First thing that happens when times get bad is all those rules come back
Come
into
back.
play.
Yeah,
And
that's
they-
right.
Right? So now we're applying all these rules, and now there are new tools available to insurance companies. There are third-party vendors that use satellites and
Google
drones
Maps or-
and
Yeah.
Google Maps, and they put out these roof and tree coverage scores. So companies just pull these into their underwriting process, and often you can't even get a quote out of some companies if the roof score fails. You can maybe, ask them to take another look and provide some additional photos because maybe something's dated or it was just the roof needed to be professionally cleaned
Maybe it was
properly.
just a moss, right? But
But I have had files on my desk asking for full roof replacements, asking for full driveway replacements, asking for sidewalks to be redone.
oh yeah, I can see the sidewalks.
Asking
This is
for
common
trees
with
to be
with
cut back.
Yeah, we had a rental property that we managed for a client where they would not reinsure it until the owner spent it cost probably about $2,000, but they had to cut. There were branches all over the roof. It was regardless that they put a new roof in, they had branches still. So they said,
Right,
you've
the
got to
tree
get all
coverage
tree,
over the
tree
roof.
coverage. Yeah,
So, people are calling our office often because prices are going up.
Yes.
So they say, oh, so-and-so company raised me a ridiculous amount of money. Can you help me?
yeah.
And I now have to have this conversation with them about if I save you $500 this year, but it costs you $15,000 to make the insurance company happy, are we really doing the smart thing right now? Or
That's
do
right.
we wait and you suck it up and pay for what eggs cost today?
Yeah, that's
Hey,
right.
yeah.
And wait until it becomes more of a homeowners insurance buyer's market again, because right
Sure.
now it's not a homeowners insurance buyer's market.
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
The time went so fast. We're actually out of time, but we want to thank you very much for being our guest. And once again, please give your contact number for our listener base.
Yeah, our office phone is 732-410-4160. You can reach us anytime. When we're not there, they go to our cell phones. So we're always on the job, and you can always find us on Google and actually request an appointment directly.
Awesome. Thank you so much again, Joe. We'll see everyone next week. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Thank you.